Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's episode 6 of the Chronicles of the Supernatural. And once again, we have a jam-packed show for you tonight, where we have a gentleman, Gary Anderson from West Australian Paranormal Researchers. We also have Michelle Connolly and Mary Nolan from Back in Time Paranormal Investigators. Our special guest tonight is Michelle Roos, who is a demonologist and ordained minister. And founder of the Riverside, Iowa Paranormal. And in our spiritual corner tonight, we have Marion Goodfellow, who is a medium and who has also appeared on Northern Ireland's Greatest Haunts. So, without any further ado, I'm going to introduce you to my co-host and colleague this evening, Gary Waters. Gary, welcome on board.
Hello, I thought it was a host. Have I been relegated?
Oh, sorry, you're a host. Sorry. I tell you what the problem is. My phone has been going off here and I've been trying to do the both of them here.
Throw it in the bin.
I know. Terrible. How are you doing this evening, Gary?
I'm good. I'm all excited. I got a new toy today. I don't want to talk about it too much because I don't want to bore everybody, but I did get a new Harley Davidson. And I did say I'm not going to talk about it tonight on the show. So it's going to be all zippity zip, nothing about it. It's a classic car. It's a 2002 model based on the 1960s style of superbike. So I'm not going to talk about it anymore. You know,
don't be
going to keep it quiet.
Yeah, don't be talking about it anymore, right? And don't be showing us the picture. But anyhow, if you're watching the show now at the moment, if you could all start to like, share, and start your watch parties. We have a jam-packed show tonight. Very interesting show tonight, Gary.
Yep, looking forward to it. As you said, Jared, some super guests and some that we know I've met personally as well. And obviously we know the first gentleman that's coming on. We've been talking to him for a while, and he's a seasonal investigator. He's been doing this for years, so it's going to be a pleasure to talk to him from the other side of the world. I believe it's 3 o'clock in the morning over there. So fair play to him for sitting up this time in the morning. Yeah. Gentleman.
Actually, I've known Gary for quite a bit now. You know, and he's a long time.
Yeah.
He's a long time in paranormal now. He's a very, very, very knowledgeable guy. I'm just going to give a shout out here. Just 1 second, Gary. Just take one, because again, on the comments on the StreamYard, folks, if you're logging on, if you could give StreamYard the permissions to use your name, because when the comments come up here in StreamYard, if you haven't given those permissions, all that we can see is Facebook user. So we don't really know who's actually asking the questions. We also have Marion Goodfellow on tonight as well. Gary.
Yep. I've known Marion now for a couple of years. Only started to chat with her on Facebook, but she's done a couple of TV shows in the past. I believe she's done one here about 4 or 5 years ago. So I'll be looking forward to talking to her about that and her experiences and delving into some of Northern Ireland's greatest haunts.
And also tonight we also are dipping our toes into the darker side. I think is the best.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. We have
look,
a demonologist coming on the show tonight. Ooh.
That should keep the lights on for that.
Just give a shout out to some of the guests that have logged on. Jenny Sullivan Sunyasi. How you doing, Jenny? Paula Crockett. How you doing? Paula? Jilly C. We also have Jilly C on board. So what have you been doing this week then, Gary?
Not a lot, just working, doing a bit of research for the show, bike hunting, and that's about it really. Yeah, so anyway, so it's 8:05, and I think we shall introduce our first guest. So here we go.
Hello, Gary Anderson.
Hello, guys. How are things up in the North Hemisphere?
up in the northern hemisphere.
Yes.
We've just got it.
Yeah, it's
first.
nice day.
It's got to be close to summertime for you guys over there, hasn't it?
Well,
yeah.
Today and tomorrow.
We're coming into summertime.
Today and tomorrow we'll have summertime, and then we're sort of creeping back into winter then.
Yeah, you usually got about 4 or 5 days that you got to catch somewhere in the middle there from memory.
Yeah. I don't think I had any last year. I can't remember. No,
I know.
Jill Crawford, how you doing? Helen Louisa, how you doing? Welcome on board, and hope you enjoy the show tonight.
So, Gary, as a sender on the way introduction, I've only known you a short while. Jared has known you for quite a long time. So for those who don't know you, if you want to say a wee bit about yourself and what got your interest in the paranormal field.
Yeah, I guess the origin story for most investigators is very different. Mine is not what you would normally think. I saw something and experienced something as a child in the north of England where I grew up, and fascination got the better of me, and I started back then, before the internet, obviously, reading books, and my interest grew from there. And as a teenager, I started investigating a little bit more, and I started getting involved within groups, just sort of hanging around the sides in my early 20s, and learnt quite a bit. Learnt that a lot of them are not as knowledgeable as they might want to lead people to think they are, and ultimately started my own group.
Oh, I think he's froze. No, I think he's froze. Gary, if you can hear me, sorry, you were freezing there a wee bit.
Yes, no.
Oh, we've got you back. We've got you back. Yeah. That's how. I think it's that wee alien behind you is putting the gremlins into the feed here.
No, Maxie's a good boy. He's a good boy.
Oh, is that right? Okay. Give him a wave. He's waving back. Hi.
He is.
Hi,
He's giving you the little victory sign.
Yeah. He's giving me the evil eye. So I'm watching him. I'm watching you. All right. So sorry. So the last bit before you were cut off there. So then you said you went into the field with certain experiences. So.
Yes. Well, I'm not sure at what point I froze, but I started getting involved with different groups just as a bit of a bystander to see how things were done. And I learned very early on in the piece that a lot of them like to think that they're more knowledgeable than they actually are, and they like to put that across, and a lot of it was rubbish. And I just thought the only way I could truly get ahead in this field is to start my own group up, which is ultimately what I did. And it's just gone from strength to strength. You know, we're one of the biggest groups in Western Australia. We're known around Australia itself and internationally.
Okay, nice one. So do you remember the show then that came out there a few years ago, Rob Demer's done for, it was called A Haunting Australia?
Yes. I remember I had a friend that was actually involved in that show, Alan Tiller.
Oh, right. Well, yeah.
Yeah, I knew him, and he couldn't say much when it was going ahead for obvious, for the reasons.
Yeah.
When you're doing a show, you have to keep it all, keep it quiet and stuff.
Yeah, but, you do.
In all honesty, I actually don't watch a lot of the shows.
Neither did I. I used to watch like we all did over here in the UK. We had, I think the first show that came out, Jared, you probably watched it as well, was a program called Most Haunted.
Yes, I know that show.
Yeah, the first 2 seasons. Sorry.
Yeah, we've actually worked with Derek Okora several times.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, he's a nice guy. I never actually...
Sorry,
Jared.
You worked with Derek, Gary, have you?
Yes. When he's come over here, we've set up a few locations actually for him. And anybody that watches him on Most Haunted, you might get a bit of a giggle at how animated he is and things like that. So I was very doubtful about how genuine he was going to be, to the point where I set up a specific location that only I knew about. And when we took him in, he started coming up with some of this stuff that I was going, nah, I've got you now, mate. That's just not the case. And the historian actually backed everything that he said. And I learned some stuff there that I didn't even know about the place. So the guy, love him or hate him, he was very genuine.
Yeah.
He was the real deal.
He certainly came across as a nice guy, like, you know.
He's a lovely guy.
Yeah, he was very. He seemed. See, I think with the show with Most Haunted, I think Derek himself as a character was actually becoming bigger than the show itself, and maybe that's why things happened where he decided to leave. I don't know the full story behind it, obviously, but yeah, season 1, season 2, I thoroughly enjoyed, and then season 3, they started to spice it up a bit for entertainment purposes, and I think that spoiled it for a lot of people. You know, we all know ourselves being seasoned investigators, you don't do that type of thing, you know. But so that was a popular show over here, and then we had I think it was Ghost Hunters from America had came out, Tops. As well, you probably got it in Australia as well. But some of the locations that Hunt in Australia had done, did you do any of those locations yourself?
I've only seen one episode of the show. I'm being totally honest.
Right, okay.
So I don't even know what places they've been to. So
yeah, right.
I've done places in the UK, Australia, and Singapore. So
you've been to Singapore?
Yes. Yeah, we got to Changi, the old Changi Hospital, which is a very freaky place.
Yeah.
So tell us this, Gary. Of all of the locations that you've done, which would be number one?
Which would be number one? Based in Australia, the most haunted location that I would consider would be the old Swanbourne Psychiatric Hospital. We were only ever allowed in there once, and we were not allowed to publish any of our findings because they're redoing the whole thing. Part of it's heritage listed, and they're setting it all up, so they didn't want anything going out about it. But yeah, that place went off. It's really good. Albany Quarantine Station down south, we've done several investigations down there, and everyone's totally different, and we've got plenty of footage like that from that place, which I'll be able to share with you guys in private. But again, that place opens up to school camps, so they don't want to scare the kids.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah. So, out of all the things that you've done, what would be the most frightening experience that's actually happened to you yourself on a personal level?
That would be at Albany Quarantine Station. There was the first time we were down there, it was a winter's night, and we'd originally set it all up. It's a very isolated location for obvious reasons. And then you've got the main quarantine station where everybody that would come off the ships would stay. And then anybody that showed symptoms was taken across to the isolation hospital. And then next to the isolation hospital, you have the morgue. Now, that's where most of the activity happens. So everybody set up their sleeping quarters in the nurse's cabin, which was about 100 meters down the way. And I said, no, you got to do it right. You've got to set it up in the isolation hospital itself. So myself and one of the other guys set up in 2 separate rooms. And it had to be, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, settling in. And I guess you guys would know that sense when the dark gets darker. You know, there's something in the room with you. I got that. Yeah. I got that feeling. And then I got the absolute, even through the sleeping bag, got the absolute cold spot. So I got up, and as I got up, something grabbed the neck chain that I was wearing and dragged me back down to the bed. That totally freaked me out at the time. So I got up, jumped up, opened the door, and at that point, a glass came flying at me and a broom came flying at me. And I went running around to the other room to get my mate to come in and check it out as well. To find that he'd actually chickened out, and he'd actually gone to sleep with everybody else in the nurses' quarters.
Oh, well, that's something probably I would do as well, yeah. I was just thinking there when you got sniped, it wasn't your wee goatee beard got sniped on something that pulled you back, no?
It wasn't even, it wasn't this long back then. It was just like a little...
a little baby thing? Yeah.
But no, it literally, if you pull back that kind of thing, that's what it was.
Yeah. Wow.
So there was actually a mark around the front of my neck.
Yeah.
So it was
That's hard. That's hard. It's frightening when that type of thing happens to you. It's something that you don't expect, and when it does happen to you, it just gives you the hackles. It really does frighten you to the point where you don't want to be there and you want to leave. You know?
I think it was more adrenaline, actually, to tell you the truth. I mean, yes,
Yeah.
when you initially wake up, it's like, what the hell is going on? I went round to see if my mate was there. He wasn't there, so I went running across to the other cabin in the wet, soggy socks, in the mud and everything. And once I sort of got my adrenaline back down under control, I actually went back and spent the rest of the night in there. Nothing happened after that, but that would have to be the most interaction I've actually had with spirit.
Yeah. So would you say your team, what is the concept of your team? Are you spiritual? Are you scientific? Or are you a mixture of both?
Mixture.
Okay.
The dynamic of the group has changed a lot since we first formed. I formed the group in 2009 with basically a completely different lot of people. And the idea was get scientific evidence, but we had group psychic on as well. And we would never use any of her psychic findings as evidence, but we would use them to help guide us how to do an investigation, because I do believe that with it all being supernatural and everything like that, you've got to take on all different aspects of it. So if they're picking up something in a certain area, try setting up in that area and see what we can get. And it did prove quite successful for us.
Yeah. So what type of equipment would you use to document and gather evidence?
All the usual kind of stuff: K2 meters, tri-field meters, DVR cameras, infrared cameras, thermal imaging, voice recorders, just the usual basics, not so much the fruity stuff. I mean, when we do our public hunts, we'll use some of the toys that you see in the TV shows, because they've all seen them and they want to see how they all work. And it's good. We do a lot of public hunts, and the idea behind them is just to expose the public to the kind of thing that we do. And they're quite successful, actually. We get quite a good following every time we put up a public hunt. It doesn't take long to fill it all.
Well, that tells you you're doing something right then with your followers as well. So when you go into a location, do you talk about get the history of it, or do you go in with not knowing a lot of knowledge on that location itself, where it's down to you as investigators to get evidence to back it up?
The way we the way we usually work it is, I'll have one person designated as the history gatherer for a specific location, and they are told to keep everything in an envelope and not to tell anybody about anything, and not to be involved in any of the active part of the investigation. So then we will gather all the findings. Each group that goes off to individual sections, they'll take a notebook with them. They'll write down what they find, and then again, we don't swap any notes out of these things until the end of the night, where we all come together, and then we'll go room by room and see what everybody picked up and see if we can get any correlating evidence.
That's a great idea. Never heard of that before. That's a brilliant idea.
I just think it's, if somebody says something, you're going to cross-contaminate. People are going to get ideas, and then it'll almost lead them onto something. So I say put it all down in a little notebook, and then at the end of the night, we'll just put all the notebooks out, and it's actually proven quite interesting on several different occasions.
We tried that. We tried something similar to that, and I don't know whether you were there or not, Gary, on this particular one. But it was Sacred Drawn, right? Down at Queen Street, where we brought groups in. We brought groups of people in, 10 groups, 10 per group, socially distanced, of course, right? So nobody could see what the other one was writing, and give each one a pad and a pencil. Did a guided meditation with them, and then asked them then to write down what they were seeing in their mind, whether it was silly or not, right? It didn't matter what it was, whatever they were getting in their head, write it down, right? And then at the end of that session, pass it up to the front until all of the groups come through. I think it was about 5 or 6 different groups. and then at the end of the evening compare all of the notes, and the results from it were fantastic. Do you know what I mean?
It's an awesome way of doing it, actually, because,
uh,
like I said, there's no cross-contamination. Nobody's talking about it until the end of the night, so it's not like anybody's leading anybody else on. So any evidence that you get, it's something that they've all individually experienced, and even if they pick up a name, we'll get them to write the names down. And when you can get the same name from several different groups that have not been talking to each other through the night, then you've got something that you can work with there.
Makes it more credible, doesn't it? Well, you
Yes,
get two people doing a drawing or something that's, of a house and a tree and maybe like a hanging rope or something hanging from it. And those two people, 100% that they haven't, okay, if they're friends, then you'd always doubt it. Maybe they've had a talk about it going in. But if you get two strangers coming up with the same thing, that's just mind blowing on its own.
Yeah. Well, that's it.
Well.
I mean, it's old school documentation.
Yeah,
I like to use a lot of old school stuff because digital things, you can use voice recorders and things like that, but going back to old school techniques, they're tried and tested throughout the years.
Yeah. Do you use a seance or a Ouija board or anything like that there?
We used to use a spirit board back in the day. Again, I would never present anything from that as evidence. We would use it purely to make a contact and see what we would get. And again, we had several different results from that. I do have, I know it's not going to help anybody who's watching this show, but I do have some footage that I can probably share with you guys of a specific location, namely this Albany place I was telling you about, where we did run a spirit board session. And as the planchette started to move, we got tri-field activity, we got K2 activity right before the doors burst open behind us, and we've got it all caught on DVR. And it's funny enough that the psychic actually invited spirit to come forward, and the doors that burst open were the direct doors straight through to the little cemetery at the back.
That's a bit freaky, isn't it?
It is.
That's a bit freaky. Yeah.
Even beyond that, the doors were both locked, and there were chairs sat in front of them. So these doors burst open and actually pushed the chairs out of the way. So that was a very interesting night.
Yeah. So one of the questions that's come in. Sorry, Jer, go ahead.
No, I was just going to do that. Go ahead, Gary.
One of the questions just coming in there is there a specific time, i.e. day or night, when you prefer to carry out investigations, or do you find it doesn't really matter?
It doesn't really matter. No, we track moon phases, all of those different things. We work on specific. If we're dealing with a residential case, I'll get them to try and document what's happening beforehand, so we can pick any kind of general times where the activity is higher. But no, we don't really. When we do a public hunt, that's just obviously more social hours. When we're doing an investigation, it's usually day and night. So we cover all bases.
Yeah. So the wee alien in the background, I take it you're a bit of a UFO enthusiast.
Well, that's what got me into it in the first place. As a kid, growing up in the north of England, I saw a flying saucer, as I called it back then, very close, and I didn't know what to make of it. And I told my mom and dad. It was actually out of my bedroom window, and I was up on the second story at the back. It was about 3 houses across. I saw it, and the next morning I told my mom and dad about it, and they said, "No, it's your imagination." It wasn't until it came on the news that night that there'd been several UFO reports that they thought, okay, well, maybe he's seen something. And I would start reading what I could, which wasn't much back then. When we went to the local library, they said, all you'll find is there's a little section on the unexplained. And, the old-fashioned encyclopedias of the unexplained, where you've got a little bit about ghosts, a little bit about UFOs, a little bit about Bigfoot, human combustion, all of those awesome different aspects of the paranormal. And it just got me hooked in everything. So, yes. It
So
is one of my little passions.
you're giving your age away here, because in those days it didn't really have computers, so they didn't.
I'd never even heard of the internet, to tell you the truth. So I actually haven't
No,
even
it's
heard
just when
of
you know,
background.
I didn't even read books in those days. I couldn't even read. I still can't. But Jared, do you want to ask a question before? Because I know, Gary, I appreciate you coming on. I believe it's what, 3 in the morning over there.
Yes, that's the time.
I suppose
Yeah,
the
fair
obvious
play to you.
question has to be: have you been following Skinwalker Ranch?
Yes, that is on my bucket list.
Yeah.
Get out there to Utah and check that place out. That's got everything.
Yeah.
So, what are
Yeah.
your thoughts? What are your thoughts on Skinwalker Ranch?
I don't know. There's been so many things go on there. I think what was strange about the whole thing was when they sold the ranch, they put that caveat on that they weren't allowed to dig anywhere without contacting the previous owner, and he would travel interstate to make sure it's cleared. So there's got to be something hidden there somewhere.
A lot of the, as Gary Hardy in the top screen there. Right? I was going to say Gary with the glasses, but we've all got glasses, so that would be kind of confusing,
Yeah, the one with the alien.
But as my compatriot here would tell you, I tend to be a very, very open-minded skeptic, right?
Yes, that's the term that I use. I use the term healthy skeptic.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
I go into every situation with a skeptical attitude, but more than happy if it's been proven that there's something going on to take it on board. I mean, even if you do pick up activity, and you're not necessarily going to work out what that activity is, but
well, from my point, and a lot of, to be honest with you, a lot of the paranormal TV shows kind of knocked me. They really did. They knocked me for six. I'm not mentioning any names of which paranormal TV shows, but it very much disillusioned me. And when Gary Waters, Gary with the glasses, Gary with the blue headsets with Behave behind him, does that say Behave behind you, Gary?
Do you think it's an omen for me to behave tonight for a change?
I'm trying
my best not to talk. I'm trying my best not to talk about my Harley Davidson I got today, so I'm trying my best to,
There's nothing wrong with talking about Harley Davidsons.
Well, it was actually
that could be.
It was actually Gary behaving himself, right? That had tortured me to watch Skinwalker Ranch, and I have to say, I'm kind of hooked on the program now because
it's good.
Yeah,
it's good.
So a lot of things there. Even myself, as a very, very open-minded skeptic, just can't get my head around.
It covers all different aspects of the paranormal. When you look at it, they've got haunting type activity, they've got cryptozoological type activity, they've got UFO activity out there. So it's almost like it's over a nexus point where anything is possible. So it makes you wonder what actually is there.
Yeah. I love the technology in it, with their room, their base station. It's amazing with what they have there as well, So there you go, Gary. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I know you must be absolutely shattered staying up this time in the morning. I want to say thank you so much for coming on. It's been a great pleasure. Maybe we could do some time on near future. We can talk about your trip to Ireland next year and our paranormal road trip. On the
yes. Well, I mean, I could go for bloody hours at the moment. I've got my second win, but we are. My wife and I are looking at getting over to the UK hopefully next year if all of these restrictions get lifted and everything, and we'll certainly be kicking it across to the Green Isle.
Absolutely, it'll be a pleasure to have you here as well. Okay, Jared,
go for Harley,
Jared.
My screen seems to have frozen here, but we're getting fast forward here. But yes, Gary, it was an absolute pleasure talking to you, and I'll give you a wee bell tomorrow. But yes, when you get over to Ireland, that is definitely something. Hopefully, you will get over to Ireland, and hopefully, we can do what we discussed right?
Yes.
We even have our name, right? We have to get those tattooed and all, right? You can put tattoos and all.
Get a patch made up as well.
Yeah. Bring your
Yes, guys.
bring your little alien friend with you as well. We Christ helmet.
Isn't he the cutest little alien you've ever seen?
No, still give me the eye. Oh,
I love
I'm
it. I
watching.
love it. I love it. What do you see now? You see by the end of the week, Mr. Waters up there, Behave, right, is going to have one of them sitting in the studio by the end of this week. Guaranteed. That's his little one there.
Yeah.
No need to. I'm going to pack up my K2 now. I've retired. I've seen my ghost. Well, look, Gary, thanks so much for coming on. And as I say, well, hopefully we'll catch up again sometime in the near future. It's been a real pleasure.
Yeah, it has. It's been great to catch up with you guys, and I'd love to come back anytime. Might have you guys on my podcast sometime as well.
Absolutely.
Oh, super. Yeah. We'd love that. Yeah.
Welcome. Well,
Fantastic.
God bless and stay safe.
Take it easy,
See you
guys.
soon.
I'm going to go get some sleep.
Okay,
Yep.
bye. Sleep
See you
well.
later.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye-bye. Cheers. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's Gary Anderson from Australia. Such a nice guy, and as he says, he's so much experience, and he's investigated some of the most active locations on his island as well. Okay, Jared. So what have we next on the agenda? Let me see.
And next on the agenda, Mr. Waters, is
Audio Jungle.
Yeah, so this next footage, guys, what you're going to see, this has been on, I think this has been on Facebook for the last couple of weeks, and a lot of people say when you're young and you're growing up that a lot of children have imaginary friends. Now, I say imaginary friends, obviously there's a possibility they're talking to the spirits that humans can't, or the older ones can't see, but children can. So this is a wee bit of footage anyway that's been going around, and I want to share it with you guys. And I'm going to play it. I want you to tell us what you think of it. Okay, so here we go.
Do you like my truck? I got it for my birthday. 6. Carson. Are you hungry? Do you live here? What's your name? That's my grandmother's name.
So you can almost say he is having, he says, what is your name? So he is actually having a conversation with somebody that obviously the older people can't see. Jared, what's your view on that?
my view has always has always been the same, Gary, when it comes to children and animals. That myself coming from a more of a spiritual end of the paranormal, the tech end of it.
Yeah.
One of the things that any medium, for example, is taught to do before doing any sort of readings or whatever is to do a meditation, right? And then basically that is to blank everything else out in your mind, because unfortunately adults in today's society, they're full of all of the everyday, the day-to-day problems and hurdles of life and whatnot. So there's so much going on in there, and You know, if you were to sit down and write down every thought that went into your head in a day, you'd probably write a book, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas a child is kind of already in that natural state of, if you want, for want of a better word, meditation, right? But they don't have all of these problems and whatnot coming in, so they're more open, and
Yeah.
it's very convincing. I have to say that now. It is very convincing, and the very fact, it doesn't look as if it's actually somebody in the room filming. It looks like it's actually being filmed on a CCTV camera, which to me makes it more credible.
Yeah. Well, there's a theory there, scientific theory, and the theory is when you're a child, there's a thing in your eye. It's called a film, and what happens is when you get older, that film gets thicker and thicker to the point where it's believed that when the film is thin, it opens a veil and you can see spirits. And with children being so young, is this what they're seeing because the film in their eye is so thin, and then when they get older, they don't see these spirits anymore? I don't know. It's a fascinating subject. Maybe we could talk about it on another lengthy show, you know, to talk about on imaginary friends, stroke spirits, children talking to the dead, whatever. But anyway, so next we have I know one of these ladies here. We had the pleasure of meeting Michelle. She came up twice, I think it was to the Criminal No Jail, and it was they're lovely teams, so they are. And so I'm gonna, I can see them in the background there. So I'm gonna bring them on now. So here we go. Let's see if I can bring this up.
Well, we'll do one each. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got them on. Hello, ladies.
How you doing, lady?
Hi, how are you?
All the better for talking to you two. So how's it going?
All good.
Are
Good.
you,
Yeah, all good.
are you, I'm sure you're busting to get out investigating again.
Totally.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare, isn't it?
It is.
A nightmare. So ladies, so just for everybody watching, do you both, we'll start off with you, Michelle. Do you want to tell everybody what got you into the field, first of all? What got your interest in the paranormal?
Okay, I don't remember, believe, if that makes sense. From being a very young child, I just grew up, obviously children afraid of the dark and everything like that. Yeah, there was that there, but there was more to it, because I think, just as you were talking about children there in that last video, I could see things and hear things that other people couldn't, and that terrified me. So yeah, so since I remember, I was into the paranormal. And then just as you know, you go on and you get older, get the opportunity to get out and investigations and go to places you always wanted to visit, and you know, we just took it from there, and here I am.
I know, and you're on the show tonight talking about it as well. It's a small world, so it is. So, Mary, I don't think I've actually spoke to you before. I'm not sure. I don't know if I've met you or not. We haven't met you, so this is the first time. So, again, with you, Mary, what got your interest into the field?
Believe it or not, when you were playing that video there about the child who was talking to, you know, this other person that we obviously can't see, I had several relatives and family members that said I did that all the time. I don't remember it, but it was something that I always did. It was obviously a gift I had. Went away, went to school, you know, grew up doing all the things. Then years later, I ended up working in Ireland's most haunted house, which is Loftus Hall. And I was there as a tour guide. I was very drawn to the house anyway, but I went there as a tour guide. And the more that I was in the house, the more I started to feel, pick up, sense, get names in my head. And I thought, whoa, what's going on here? And that opened my mind to a whole other field of things that I had probably buried from the age of 5 and 6. And then teams were going into the house to do paranormal investigations. I was asked, would I, because I had, you know, knew the history of the house, would I stay back after work and stay with these teams that were coming into the house and verify facts or information that was coming through. And the more that I was within the house and saw these teams, the more that was coming into me. And I didn't share it with the teams. I hate to say that, but I validated their information, but I was hearing other stuff that was coming through. So that kind of made me think, I really want to get into this. I really enjoy this. It felt very natural. Didn't feel false. And I really enjoyed it. And the teams that were coming in were all different, so many different groups, learned so much. And I thought, I want to do this. And that's how I started.
Okay, Jared, do you know more about that? I think, Mary, you were maybe a sensitive growing up. You were picking up all this,
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah.
You would be, Mary, more like myself. You got into it because of your sensitive side. So how do you feel that when it came to investigations and paranormal investigations, etc. Then you're introduced to technology. I don't know about you, but at the beginning I found it very, very difficult to get my head around technology. I know a lot more about it today. Would you approach the paranormal investigative side from more a spiritual side, or the more from the spiritual?
And I can go into a room, I pick up names, and it's a feeling. I actually can't describe it to people. Sometimes Michelle gets me because she just can validate some of the things that I do. And then technology-wise, sometimes we're able to validate what I have said. And I found it amazing that I would pick up on it quicker than the technology did. So I have a huge love and passion for the natural side of things, as opposed to the technology side of things. And that's my approach on everything. I like to think it's nice to be validated sometimes with the technology, but I definitely think the spiritual, the holistic, the natural feel of things is the best way to investigate.
You see, that's something that I haven't heard in a while, right? And certainly most paranormal teams that I would know tend to rely more on the equipment side of it, right? But it's refreshing to hear somebody saying that they use the spiritual side and then have it validated by the equipment, which is how I like to approach an investigation. Well, what about you, Michelle?
I totally agree with what you're saying there. We use it as a balance. So you go into a room, you have your camera running, your night vision camera running, along with what you call like a Singapore theory kind of effect, whether it's balls on a mat where you've got them mapped out that you see if they are going to move, and then you have both. You have the natural thing where if something's going to make a ball roll off a table or roll off a board, you're getting it captured on film. But you can't depend on the film alone, because technology can be up and down, in and out. Even now when I'm talking to you, I'm hearing women singing and everything like that. I know another girl commented that earlier on. I can actually hear it in my ears. But like that's technology, and it can't be put forward as paranormal evidence in my eyes, and that's just my opinion on it. I mean, teams that get it is fantastic, do you know what I mean? But you have a K2, it looks great, it lights up, and it gives all the bells and whistles, and it's fabulous when you're in a room. But I think when you go in with your own set, and you're the only person who can actually validate for yourself whether something is there or not.
I agree.
Yeah,
see,
we had an instance once. It kind of goes along with what I was saying. Or Gary had invited me along one time to do a public investigation at the Crumlin Road Jail in Belfast. Now, this is a place that I had never been in before. Well, sorry, I'll tell a lie. I had did an investigation in Crumlin Road Jail before, but I had never did an investigation in the hospital wing of the Crumlin Road Jail. And it was for the first time that they had invited me along into the hospital wing to lead with a group of people along with Gary. And immediately that I went into the hospital wing, I had said, right, okay, that room there. Now, I didn't know at that point that someone that Gary had invited in before, like actually a guy that we had on the show, Gary, a couple of weeks ago.
Chris Holton.
Chris Holton, right?
Yeah.
Had been in with Gary and whatnot before doing an investigation, and brought them to exactly the same room. And I said, well, that's the room that we need to go into. And immediately that we went into that room, we were getting hits on the meters.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? To me, to me, that seems to be a lot more credible. I see Gary. I don't know whether you've actually noticed anything here or not, right? But Gary seems to have changed his background there to his new Harley Davidson. What's this about?
I just thought I'd change my background to something different. So I did.
Go ahead.
But
you can show us the photograph of you on your Harley. Go on.
No, I'll keep that for another show. But anyway, so talking about equipment then, so obviously you've got a full army of equipment, and I can see where you come from, and I totally agree with all you that sometimes the validation for yourself is more important than any equipment that you will ever use. But what type of equipment do you use? Do you use something different to what anybody else is using, or is it just old school, the spiritual side as well as the scientific side?
We're very old school. Our equipment is basic. We have the K2s, the EVPs, night vision cameras, that kind of thing, REM pods, the teddy bears with the EVPs and stuff like that, or the K2s in them and stuff like that for the wherever we're going. We do like to I suppose not make up our own experiments, but when you go to different places, you need to think about where you're going and what kind of atmosphere you're going to have there. If you're going to a big house, you're going to have, a lot of maybe radios or gramophones or something like that, where they would be playing records and things like that. You go to a farmhouse on the road, they're not going to have that kind of thing. So you have to think something else to go in there to try and bring out the stone theory from the, do you know what I mean? To draw them out kind of thing. So that's the kind of thing we're more old school towards the new equipment. But as I said, we do use it. It is, and don't get me wrong, I do enjoy it. It's great when the K2 hits. That's fab. But it's the balance. And we have Mary, which we were blessed to have, and I've learned so much from Mary as well. That Mary can walk in, say hi Joe, hi Bob, hi John. She knows them all, and we can't even see looking at which is fantastic.
I just had to change my background, right?
Oh, here we go. Yeah, okay. Do you know what, actually, Jared, you need to move your chair over a wee bit. I can't see. You're blocking. You need to move your chair. I can't see. All I can see is the top of all right, okay, fair enough. Yeah.
This one, this is Gary. This is, that's the bike he was going to buy. This is the actual bike here. Right.
But I ended up with this one. So do you know what, that bike? I like that green bike. That would probably do me a lot better than this thing behind me here, because I'm struggling to ride it. So yeah. But anyway, so back to the paranormal land. So you said you've been to some of the most haunted locations in Ireland, and you mentioned one there early on. Everybody knows, mostly everybody in Ireland, and probably everybody around the world, Loftus Hall. You have been there. You have done it. You wore the T-shirt. What's the fascination of it, ladies? Mary, what's the fascination of Loftus Hall?
There's so much. It's the mystery, the dark stories. For me, when I used to do the historical tour as well as the day tour. Day tour is, in my opinion, and I'm just saying it, is basically an adjusted story. Obviously, it's a tour. It's a public tour that suits children and adults. So it is adjusted to suit the needs of everybody. But for me, in general, after the tour, people come up and say, I experienced this, I experienced that, I felt this in this room. I think the Hook Peninsula, I don't know if you've ever been there, it's a very bleak landscape, flat out. Then you have this huge 3-story house in the middle of nowhere. as you drive down the driveway, this ominous feel comes across you, and you're looking at this huge house, middle of nowhere. You know, there's going to be a story here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just feel it.
Mhm.
Everybody can feel it. Everybody feels it.
Yeah.
Entering into the building, you know, there was geopathic stress tests done on the house, and there are 3 ley lines within it, as you know, as the house itself. So there lies this untold energy within the house itself, and that feeds all
Right.
of the house, and it runs right through
Mhm.
the so then you have people who would be sensitive that will come for even just a day tour and go, wow, I have to go back there. I felt something. This was
Mhm.
amazing.
Yeah.
And then you
Mhm.
have dark, dark history, dark story. The house has had untold failure over the years between death, wars, you know, money losses, people
Mhm.
fighting over it in court. You know, there's this constant, it's like an onion, there's a huge layer of stories within the house itself. So there's a plethora of history on the house itself. And people just pick up on that when they enter into the house. I don't know what it is, whether it's the energy, the location. There's all these tick boxes of factors that suits
Mhm.
so many, and it does cross all boundaries for so many people. They're all drawn to it. It is an epic location. It just simply is. And I've been to many locations in and around Ireland, but fan-wise, I just think Loftus Hall has so many. It's just amazing. They're huge followers.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah. It's
um, I, I've never been to Loftus Hall. I think you've been there, Gary. Yes.
no, we had the opportunity to go. I think it was yourself, Michelle. We were talking behind the scenes about maybe doing it, but it fell through. We didn't get around to doing it that time, but hopefully we will at some time in the near future. We will get down. Yeah.
Yeah. You see, I'm a great believer in the stone brick theory, right?
Yep.
And from what from what you're telling me there's an awful lot of negative history around Loftus Hall. So it's not surprising that when you would enter, it's definitely a place on the bucket list to go and visit now. Is Loftus Hall.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
but it's not surprising that when you go into a place like that, and to be honest, I don't even think that you need to be a sensitive
Mm,
to
yeah.
pick that up. Going into a place like that. I know some of the locations that I've been in, for example, Charleville, right? And I take it on board what you were saying, even the drive up to it. When you're driving towards Charleville, I got the same, and I know a lot of friends of mine, and I got the same feeling driving up through Charleville. Whether in that case it was the the formation of the trees, because the trees in the driveway
Yeah.
up to Carnival Castle are really, really spooky, right? Or whether it was the history of the Masons or whatever. I don't know, right? But when you go into a place like that and listening to the history of it, I love history. I absolutely love history.
Mm.
And it's not surprising you could pick that up. There's a lot of people here saying that there's quite a few people here saying that they've heard the name Mary in Loftus Hall. Can you?
That's probably from all my years as tour guide, and I think the nuns, everything, all the spirits there would probably know me by my first name. A lot of people have actually had my name called out over the years, on investigation. So that's kind of funny. It's kind of cute, but it is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have Natalie Fowler, Phelan here, has said that myself and 2 other ladies went in Loftus Hall on the nuns' staircase.
Mm.
We were doing a walk around before the investigation, before we all heard a spirit ask for Mary, and the 3 of us heard it.
Mm. Yeah. I want to believe that the back staircase was known. That's the way the servants would have come and gone, to serve the family. And when the nuns had the house. There was 2 orders of nuns that were in Loftus Hall over a number of years. Unfortunately, there were a few deaths, and one tragic one was actually on their back staircase. And that nun is known to haunt that staircase, and Michelle has verified a number of occasions with her rods. You know, we do the dowsing rods, and not only that, there's been numerous spirits, but that staircase is immensely haunted. And yeah, I do very play to Natalie, to pick up on that, because the back staircase is a favourite of mine, and probably for Michelle as well.
Yeah. Have you tried the? What do we call it? There's probably different terminology and names for it, but we call it the recreation experiment, or the you're dressing up in period style clothing, trying to draw them out. Have you ever tried experiments like that before there at Loftus Hall?
We have done it. We've done the music. We've sat on the main staircase and we've played music from different eras. And funnily enough, one that kept hitting time and time again was when we played John Lennon. Now, again, I don't know whether public investigations at the time, whether it was the public, their energy coming through, not 100% sure. You know, kind of you hear a song that you like, it kind of takes you back in time, pardon the pun there, but you can go back to a moment. You're caught up in it then. But I think that song seemed to just get them all out. I don't know. You hear footsteps going around the landing of the staircase. We've had the K2s hit the REM pod go mental on the staircase. It's a fantastic thing to try when you're playing the music. But we've tried it as well in Lepcastle. Actually, we were in the Bloody Chapel. We read from the Bible. We had the guys in the team actually stand up. They didn't seem to want, when one of the girls tried to read, the atmosphere got very heavy and dark. But when the guys were reading from the Bible, it was acceptable, if that makes sense. And that kind of brought a lot of things out. On that occasion, Mary was picking up a lot of Latin. Am I right, Mary? And that picking up a lot of words, and it was all from kind of coming from that Singapore effect again of actually, going in and trying to draw out the spirits from the woodwork, basically. Yeah, so that was really good.
And he's got great.
I think that.
Sorry, did you get any? He's got good results from that, yeah.
Yeah, we always seem to get good results from the Singapore theory in whatever way we do it, be it the music, be it the reading. Sometimes we've done a theatre there last year. We did a theatre a number of times, and we stood on the stage and read out some scenes from plays that would have been on in the theatre, and that seemed to invoke, the spirits as well. They kind of, I don't know, they like it or what it is, but it really, really does work. That's something that we really do enjoy, and kind of bring forward what we were looking for,
Yeah, I believe. Well, I'm a big believer in that. So I am. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I know who you are. I know who he is. He would be the first if we were doing the Singapore theory anywhere. He would go, well, I dress up as the captain, and you can dress up as the scullery maid.
There you go.
It's happened a few times, and you know what? We weren't even doing a Singapore theory. Well, look, ladies, it's been a pleasure having you both on. I know it's been very, very short because it's a packed show. Maybe get you guys on again at some time in the near future. We'll talk about other things, about other locations that you've done, what's your favorite equipment, etc., etc. If you're brave enough to come back on again, we were more happy to have you on.
Yeah, we'd love to.
All right. Yeah, it's been a real pleasure for coming on. Thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate it. And good seeing you again.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Mary as well, of course. All right, ladies, we'll see you again soon.
Bye.
You take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Love yous. Love yous. Oh, they don't love me. Oh, they don't love me, right? Fair enough.
No, they don't love me.
Nobody loves me.
Well, I wonder
No.
Right?
Must be my Harley Davidson.
I have to, just for the guest that's viewing here now at the moment. This, ladies and gentlemen, this was a photograph that Gary sent me during the week. I know I keep going on about this Harley Davidson thing, but I mean, I have to get it out of my system because Gary had sent me this photograph, during the week. He says, "Well, what do you think of me on my new Harley Davidson?" And
Yeah, I think I do. Yeah, I like.
yeah,
Tell you what,
yeah. Do you know what I mean? But
I look.
immediately
I look amazing.
immediately it didn't sit right with me because that's not the bike that I saw him on. That was the bike that I saw him on. You know.
Yeah, it looks even better. Jared, send me the link for that. I have to get that. That's more my style of bike.
I will
So
do.
I
And
love the green and black. It looks real.
yeah, and you notice what it says on the petrol tank? Ninja. Yeah.
Yeah, that's me. Big ninja. I don't know. No one. I've got grey hair. I'm telling you. Anyway, so next guest, Jared. Would you like to do a wee mini bio, and then we'll invite her on?
Yes, our next guest, we had sort of, without hitting on any names at the beginning of the show, right? Our next guest is Michelle Michelle Roos, who is a demonologist, an ordained minister, and founder of Riverside Iowa Paranormal, and she is also involved with the Warren Foundation. So we will bring Michelle on board. What do we say? Hello, Michelle. How you doing?
Hello, how are you?
We're good. We're good. How are you? So,
Michelle, do you like my new bike?
I actually like, which one should I like? The green one that says Ninja or the other one?
the Ninja bike. The Ninja bike.
The Ninja bike.
This one.
Actually, I do like the bike. I like all the background. It's
Yeah.
nice.
Oh, thank you very much. I'll put plenty more up later on.
I'm sure everyone is interested. Tell us about the Warren Foundation.
Well, the Warren Legacy Foundation is actually the continuation of what Ed and Lorraine Warren had put together. Their mission was to help folks who are in need of any type of, haunting spiritual needs. So Lorraine and her grandson, Chris McKinnell, wanted to make sure the legacy lived on even after they left. So we are actually, well, myself and a lot of the colleagues that I have are fortunate enough to work with him and continue that mission around the world.
Right. And so what way does it work? So paranormal teams, then they contact you if they need any information or any advice or any help, or then they can contact you through the Warren Foundation, the Warren Legacy Foundation.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it could be teams that would need our help, or it could be individuals. We actually have people all around the world that can help in different areas, like myself, I'm on the board of directors, and I'm also the regional director for the Midwest.
Yeah.
We also have folks that, are in like Texas and different areas in the United States, but we're also abroad in the UK and different areas like Costa Rica. Chris is in Brazil right now. So we kind of are spread out to be able to help. And sometimes we jump in and help teams also.
So now we'll move on, and this is where we get into the interesting part then, right? Okay.
It's about me.
It's about you.
Can we dim the lights? Can we dim the lights?
Can we dim the lights? Can we get dramatic music? Dun, dun, dun. You're an ordained minister.
Yes.
I'm a demonologist.
Yes.
And I have also been informed that you have been involved in some exorcisms.
Actually, in the home exorcisms, one thing I want a lot of people to know, to be possessed is very rare. We deal with mainly infestation and oppression.
Yes.
The exorcised ones, and people being possessed is very, very rare.
Yes.
But oppression can actually act just like that.
Yes.
So I have dealt with many of those.
And of the cases that you have dealt with, what would the percentage be of the cases that have actually been or that you have felt has been a real possession?
There was, I would say probably 1 out of 100. that would actually have, been the full-fledged thing. Like I said, I've dealt with more infestation and oppression than I have anything else.
Yeah.
And I've dealt with a lot of negative energy, which has been self-manifested by somebody. And those sometimes can actually mimic, a possession or oppression in a person, especially when it's self-manifested.
You see, this is where the conflict comes in when it comes to possession. Is it, for want of it, is it down to, is it down to mental health? Maybe schizophrenia or psychosis, right? Or is it an actual possession? How do you differentiate between?
Well, before anything ever happens, and people think that we just kind of rush in, and we have our crosses and our holy water, and we just start doing, an exorcism or anything. We go through a lot of detail prior. We ask a lot of questions. We ask a lot of medical questions. We also have them see medical help too, to find out, is it psychosis or anything like that. We look at what kind of medication people take. Does the medication actually cause hallucinations or different kind of things? Does it cause, with schizophrenia, that's at that fine line of, can it be possession or that? So there are a lot of different places, and it could take a long time, for us to go in there and do the rest.
Yeah.
And again, with me, doing the part of the exorcism too, I don't personally do it. I actually accompany to help do one. It's the priest in them, or, they're the ones that actually do full deliverance of those prayers.
Yeah.
With myself, because I'm also a trance medium and psychic medium, I see things a little different. So a lot of folks will say, I can see your grandmama. She's there. She loves you. She's sending you, flowers from heaven. I see the dark side. So if you see an apparition of a young boy in a castle or a house or something, I will see that same little boy, but I see him in the time of his death. So if he was shot, I'll see him that way.
Yeah.
But I also can see if there's negative energy, it forms itself. So I can see if there's actual negative energy. And that's how I can help with a lot of the priests and stuff. I go to the homes prior to see what's all in the home on that way too. So I kind of get a little help to kind of push through to see what we have.
You see, that's something now that would intrigue me, because, speaking to your previous guest, coming from a spiritual background myself, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel that, for example, when you would partake in an exorcism or assist in an exorcism, that the risk and the danger of that negative energy, demon, whatever you want to call it, can manifest itself onto you, being the fact that you are, that you are a medium and you're trans, right? That the danger is always there, that it can manifest onto you.
I do worry about that, but also before I go anywhere, I always make sure I'm completely protected.
Yeah.
I put myself kind of in that armor, and protect myself. I actually, I sometimes go a little further than that, because the dark energy does try to attack me, first, so I don't come in, because I can do a lot of remote viewing, and a lot of times I will start doing that to kind of know what I'm about to get into.
Yeah. So moving swiftly on from that, demons themselves, you're a demonologist. And
Yes.
a lot of people would be very confused as to the actual You know, what is a demon?
So I study the term demonologist. I call it the dark side.
Yeah.
When you have light, you have to have dark. It's kind of a yin and a
Mhm.
yang. But I am not the one that goes around and will tell you, well, this particular demon is here or this. I actually am able to go in and say, okay, this is not actually a demon. This was a gentleman who was so nasty when he was alive that now in his life, now in his past life, he
Yeah.
he portrays himself as a demon, but he's not.
Yeah, I
Um,
believe in that. I believe that. I believe people say to us all the time, must be in a paranormal research team. Do you believe in demons? Now, of course, everyone has their own beliefs and systems, whatever. But I'm like you, Michelle. I would say, well, I believe in, if you're bad in life and you pass over in the spirit world, you're going to bring a personality over with you. Now, that doesn't mean to say you're a demon, but you're a bad person. So you have the good against the bad, so you're a good person if you die, or you're a bad person, you bring a personality over with you. So, yeah.
and I have seen demon types. I've seen so I put them in categories. I got like a low level, the medium, and then you got the hierarchy, kind of like that pyramid. Um,
hmm
when you start seeing that type of demon style things like that, a lot of it
hmm
is that lower level.
Yeah.
Everybody laughs at me because I call them the minions, the worker bees.
hmm
Those are the ones that will do a lot of the infestation at home in the homes, or will start
hmm
doing the oppression of just really breaking somebody down. um, so when I see that negative energy, I might refer it to a demon or demon like, because sometimes they look a lot of times they look real scaly and long fingers. I've seen them in different shapes and forms. It's kind of like a walking nightmare. Sometimes you want to rub your eyes because you're
Yeah.
not sure
hmm
if you're really seeing that.
mm Yeah.
I don't give names to any of the demons because if you think about it, with demons and angels, they have
Yeah.
been around for so long and, not human based. So they never had names. So
Mhm.
I never put a name to one because if I'm gonna meet you head to head,
mm
we're gonna be on the same playing field. I'm not gonna let you be inferior over me.
Yeah. 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 I kind of not so much with demons and whatnot, but if I'm going to be doing any, I was when I was taught mediumship, which I think you can't be taught mediumship. You can be guided in mediumship, but you can't be taught mediumship. I think we all sort of have it, but one of the first things that I was told was make sure you take control.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, make sure you take control. You're in control the whole time. You decide what you allow through. You decide what you don't allow through. I'm sure it's pretty much the same with yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's one you have to be in control no matter what.
hmm
It's like you said, we all have a certain ability. If we really tap in and listen to our bodies and our senses, we all have some type of an ability.
Mhm.
And you can actually, train to kind of enhance those through meditation or different things that you would like to do.
Yeah,
Um, do I think that everybody to see, and speak to spirit? Probably not. We probably have a lot of people that are empaths and sensitives.
yeah,
So, it's kind of one we want to make sure, I always tell people just be careful because if someone's charging you to take a class so you can become a psychic medium,
yeah,
if you haven't had those abilities, at the beginning,
yeah,
don't waste your money,
yeah, yeah.
so
Yeah, we kind of touched on that before. The type of people it's learn to be a medium in 3 easy lessons and get a certificate at the end of it.
yeah.
Yeah. There's a question coming in here, and that's one of the questions actually. As what got your interest into what Lead It started in particular in that field, and also where or how demonology studied? Where did you study it?
Well, actually, I did it through some classes, but I also work with a lot of priests and different pastors and reverends and stuff. So I work with all faiths. What had happened was, as a child, when my abilities was my nightmare. I never knew whether I was sleeping or awake. And it was something hard that I couldn't really talk to my family. I know it's crazy, but I grew up in Germany, and my Oma and stuff, being very religious, you didn't talk to her in those ways because, I was then in trouble for making up stories. So trying to deal with it, I suppressed it for so long, but I always felt drawn to people who was needing help, and the help they needed was something that you couldn't just go to the doctor for or call a friend or anything like that. So I just started really, getting into it, reading up on it. I was, talking to ministers and priests and things like that. And of course, I started reading a lot of things that Ed and Lorraine Warren were doing. And, all the research is really what got me into it, to look at different things of why one person might have that oppression and another person in that house not even know what's going on.
Yeah.
So it kind of intrigued me but then it also made my abilities make sense.
Yes.
It was like, now I understand why I have these and why they're supposed to be used.
The question here from a Graham Linus. What was the worst case you've been involved in?
The worst cases, and we're still kind of working on that case, so I can say a little bit about it. It actually includes a child who was dabbling in some things that she shouldn't have been, but was doing it innocently, using the mirrors and opening portals and different things, and has invited something really dark and nasty. But it takes over her. Since she's kind of open, it jumps her. So because it does that, and she speaks, sometimes in a different language, it's not a full possession, but it is something that is a lot older. It was never a human spirit, for one. It was something she conjured up herself. And so trying to get the mother and the rest of the family to be strong enough to help us has been one of those hard things, when your family can't wrap their mind around something like that happening.
Yeah. Another interesting question here from Joanne Lee. Says, I missed the first part of this, and maybe it has already been asked, but what do you believe is a demon's purpose? Are they here to drive fear or feed off fear?
Oh, very good question. I think it's actually both. If you've always heard the stories, if you look at the biblical side, it's always been the demons versus the angels. And, of course, when you hear the stories about, Satan, it's because he always wants to get back at God. When you start learning the things about demonology and things like that, they are not allowed to kill us or take our souls from us. That is something they are not allowed to do. So to drive the fear into us and break us down is then our free will is to give to them for them to win over another soul that belonged to God. Do they feed off of our fear? Yes. Any negative energy, if you have depression, anger, fear, what you're doing is you could take something as small as a pebble in dark energy and have it grow into a big mountain that will cause even more havoc on you because you're feeding into it. That's how it keeps continuing to grow. And a lot of times, if there is an infestation in a home, if you kind of heard or seen stories, it breaks up the family. It separates the families. and it starts tormenting each one individually. So this way you're not together and you're taking away love, support, and strength. And that's how it starts feeding off of everyone and tries to win at the end.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That sounds like that film, you know, The Conjuring, where it went through the whole family.
Yes.
That's what comes to mind. Do you know about that case? I think you do know a wee bit about it, maybe.
Which one?
The Conjuring, the film The Conjuring, where the farmhouse where the whole family, even all the kids, were experiencing
Yes.
possible an evil entity in the house.
Yes, those were they. So a couple. I think The Conjuring is very Hollywoodish.
Mm-hmm.
When talking to Chris, you know, it did go through the family, but that's what it does. It does that in any case, you know, and that's kind of how Hollywood was able to take it, because in a lot of those cases, it does. Each individual will experience something different. So as you're talking to each other, you know, you start getting angry because, you know, one
Mm-hmm.
might be getting something less than you. And yes, that's how they end up building that whole storyline.
All right. And why is it, in your view, why does a demon or a bad spirit, why does it go through the whole family? Does it just check on each
Because
individual's weakness, or?
yes, it does. Because what it does, it tries to find the weakest one in the family.
Mm-hmm.
And then it will stick with the one that's the weakest to actually feed off of that fear and off of the stress and everything to be able to get to whatever it wants to be able to do. You
Yeah.
know, a lot of times, if you look at the beginning, if it hits the mother or a father, you know, they try to fight it on their own. So they don't tell their children and they're doing it by themselves. A lot of times when it hits a child, you have the mommy and the father, you know, they're going to be strong. Something's hurting their child. They're going to go after it. So it always looks for the weakest links.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
A question from Dominica Fusco. Hi, Michelle. It says, please, can you tell me, are night terrors caused by demons?
Well, I would say probably not. What I will say is a lot of night terrors does happen with your own physical beings and mental beings, because like right now with everything that's going on, we actually have so many different stressors on us. People don't know what's going on, how things are going, that our subconscious actually takes those night terrors and is replaying our feelings, but putting it in a way that your brain is actually able to make pictures of it. And since it's so horrible about how you feel, it's going to put it in those pictures of a horrible being.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, that's understandable. Elaine Curtis asks you also a question for any involved in mediumship is whether when they see those who've passed while on investigations, is that physical or mentally seen or both? And has anyone ever presented themselves to you to press you towards a particular investigation before you've ever become involved in the investigation?
Yes, I sometimes will actually have like a premonition
Yeah,
of someone coming through dreams and things, of kind of like, I need your help to go help someone or help myself because I'm trapped and things like that. I normally don't think too much of it the first time around, but when it happens a couple times, then I want to, you know, start listening. And then it seems like the case comes forward and I end up meeting spirit there. Um, the weird thing is, I go to a lot of historical places, and, you know, they all have certain history they have of different buildings and stuff. And, you know, then I go in and I look and they start speaking like, okay, no, that's not the true story. And when you're trying to tell someone, you guys got your information wrong,
yeah.
sometimes that's a little bit of a problem, but I feel like I should tell the truth for that spirit, you know, and so I do.
Well, with a lady here, could you just pop back on that one, Gary? Ingrid Duquette.
Yeah.
And she has said here that, just to let you know, Michelle has saved my life. Thank you.
Mwah, Ingrid, yes, thank you.
Wow.
So there we go.
That's amazing.
So now, today, then, the paranormal investigation, are we doing more of that, or are we doing more of the ordained minister work?
I do both.
Yep.
I actually work with people like Ingrid, who actually have, issues. I have kind of changed a little bit of how I've done things. I feel that we all need to become our own warriors. And I'm going to call Ingrid out because she was an amazing warrior, because she was able to help me fight what was causing the issue. And it made her stronger. And now she's able to know what to look for and move on. I do paranormal investigations. All the stuff that we do not charge anybody for our services. So we do a lot of events to small historical places to help bring money to those places, but also to help for the team to travel and help those we do with private investigation. And I've been working a lot with children who are with abilities that don't realize they have the abilities, and so they are getting different things like night terrors, or feel like someone's fallen or getting scratched and stuff like that. So I also help with that.
So tell me this then, if any of the viewers then want to get in contact, can they get in contact with you? Or how do they get in contact with you?
Well, they can go to Riverside, Iowa Paranormal Facebook page, and they can send me a private message and just say, Michelle, I need your help. I do readings. I also help people that have attachments to get rid of attachments. And that one is kind of, when we're talking about depression and stuff like that. So we'll be able to, work on that. I also do psychometry. So a lot of people will send me, little pictures and things like that for me to read to see if there's something going on.
Well,
I have an attachment.
I think we've time for one final question, Gary. There was a question there from Graham Linus. There was a question from Graham Linus.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. Just if the kid you mentioned before was to move home, would the demon follow us? Fair enough question.
Yes. So a lot of people don't realize when we're talking about someone that has any kind of oppression and stuff, that actual negative energy, that demon, is actually attached to that person. So, a lot of people think if you take somebody out of a home or out of the situation they're in, it disappears. You actually have to work with that person to get that attachment off of them. That is how you're going to be able to help. It's really important that a lot of people, like I said, right now, I've been running into a lot of cases that are self-manifestations. And so it's kind of like they're building a lot of their energy around them, which is manifesting into dark energy. And, they're confusing a lot of that with demons. But it's something that, with the help of the right people, we are able to help get rid of those attachments. And I've got a great team with the Warren Foundation and with Riverside, Iowa Paranormal. We have chapters in Minnesota, Indiana. We have them in California and Indiana. I was trying to remember all the chapters in Kansas City. So we have people all around through Riverside, Iowa Paranormal too, that can also help with this stuff.
Excellent.
That's
well,
fantastic.
what we'll actually do, Michelle, if you don't mind, right? At the end of the show here, we'll actually put the link to Riverside Iowa Paranormal on our Facebook page for anyone that would be interested in getting in contact with you or finding out more about this, because it's been an absolutely fascinating subject. Absolutely fascinating. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for this evening, Michelle.
Well, that's great.
It was an absolute pleasure. And of course, I have to ask the question that, at some time in the future, we would love to have you back on the show, because I'm sure then, after this conversation tonight, that I'm sure a lot of our viewers would want to listen to more and more and more. So hopefully we could have you back on.
Love to have you on.
Yes, I would love to come back on. That would be amazing. Thank you.
Absolutely. Michelle, at this point, I will bid you adieu and good night and God bless.
God bless. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Stay safe. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Love you. Love you.
Now, you keep doing this. You keep telling the guests that you love them. And every time you tell the guests that you love them, they jump off and go. They're away.
I know. Nobody loves me. I think my bike loves me.
I don't know. What happened to the bike?
I love my bike.
Well,
It's sleeping.
I don't know about you, Gary, but I was absolutely fascinated by that.
Yeah, it was really interesting. Really, really interesting. And the comments were coming in pretty quickly as well. Okay, Jared. So before you do the next little short bio, we have this.
And coming next on the show, our next guest on the show, some people may know her as a spiritual medium. Some people may know her from a very well-known television series based in Northern Ireland. And I'd like us all to welcome on board Marion Goodfellow.
Hi, lovely to be here. Thank you.
Hi, Marion.
You. Hi, how are you keeping?
I like the picture of the bike.
Do you like the picture? Which one?
I love the picture of
the little green one or the big heart?
Behind Gary, yeah, the picture inside. Yes.
Oh, I'll have to put it back up again. Oh, here.
All right, so we're not talking about this one.
No. It doesn't quite suit his talents.
Okay, we'll put that back up again. There we go.
There you go. Lovely.
I could almost write it from here, actually. Boom, boom,
yes.
boom.
I could polish it for you.
Yeah. Well, that'll be good. Instead of me having to do it. So, how you keeping, Marion? How you keeping?
I'm fine, thank you. A little bit bored, like everybody at the moment. I'm into writing my autobiography, which is hard work. It's not so much hard work about what happened last year. It's, what happened the years and years and years ago. I'm an old lady now, Gary. I'm a really old lady. But I'm working on a project with Mark Cowden. I think you know Mark. He's Mark the Hat from the programme, Northern Ireland's Greatest Haunts. And we've done a pilot for a programme, but it's all a bit hush-hush, so we can't tell you anything about it. But it's all really, really very interesting. Really going back, quite it's sort of a worldwide phenomena about really spiritual activity and going back. It's not just hundreds of years, but thousands of years, so and it all looks very good on paper. And as I said, we've done the pilot, so keep your fingers crossed, and you might see the old lady back on the television again.
Good to see you back on again. So, Marion, everybody probably knows you because we know that you've been over quite a few times doing charity events and all as well, and you do a lot of, you do meet a lot of paranormal things here. Through the show, it got a lot of people interested in you as a person. But you've done the Northern Ireland's Greatest Haunts. I think you've done 2 seasons of it. Isn't that right? Was it 2 seasons? Or?
We did 2 seasons. Yes.
2 seasons.
Definitely.
Yeah. And the one that fascinated me, and I've been to quite a few that you've been to, but the one that fascinated me, 2 actually, but one was the Canine haunting, the Canine house.
Cunene, the Cunene, yes,
The Colleen,
yes,
Colleen, yeah.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's.
It's
I thought that was the. I thought that was the least informative place that we went. You can't really
yeah,
tell people about your feelings, and what you're feeling.
yeah.
I was
Mhm.
actually physically sick at Cunene because of the overwhelming feeling that was
Mhm.
that was there. But I understand it's
Yeah.
now gone. It's totally gone. It's been pulled
Oh, really?
down
I
or
didn't know
something.
that. Oh, I didn't
So
know that.
yeah.
Didn't know that. I know they've
So
done a
I've
lot of work
heard.
on it.
I don't know. I haven't been. Well, it's nearly a year now since I've been back to Ireland. So
Yeah, yeah.
sorry.
But another one you'd been to was the Limavady Workhouse in Derry, Londonderry.
Oh, it was amazing. Absolutely amazing that was.
Yeah,
And I would love
yeah,
to revisit. I would love to revisit, but I've never had the opportunity. We don't have a huge team over there. The lady that does most of my charity work is Liz Reeves and Susan Douglas.
yeah.
Both of
I know
those
Liz.
ladies do it free of charge. And, I haven't got a huge team. I've got a positively paranormal page with a few
Mhm.
sort of interested folks that are on it, but
Yeah,
I'm not like your previous guests. I don't have these teams of helpers and people all over the place. Very much singular.
yeah.
I go where I'm invited.
Well, do you know what? We're actually going back to Limavady. Our paranormal team, Ghost Searches Ireland. So the invites are, if you ever want to come, we're doing an investigation
Oh,
there again.
I would love to join you, Gary.
That'd be
I mean,
amazing.
obviously, when this slot's over,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um,
Yeah,
I
we'd
can get
love you
over
to come.
there. I would
That'd be
love to
super.
join you. I'd
Yeah,
love
well,
to
super.
join you. Yeah.
We'll definitely get that organised, and it'll be great to have you there.
Do you know,
We don't. Sorry, what was that? Sorry.
Limavady was the first
Yeah.
time I actually instructed spirit to actually do something, and they complied.
Mm.
Which
Yeah.
was so very exciting. The
Mhm.
awful thing about it is that the series ended just when we got going.
Yeah.
Just when we'd got Mark had got
Yeah.
the situation, whereas we could hear spirit, that I could hear, and then all of a
Mhm.
sudden it was closed down. And this is why Mark and I have got back together, because we feel that the work that he did on the sound of spirit, incorporating
Mhm.
what I was hearing with actual voices,
Yeah.
was the
Mhm.
most important thing that we could do. You imagine if you're coming to a medium, any medium, not just me, and you had a device on the table where the medium could switch that on, and you could actually hear the voice of your loved one.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
imagine what that feels like.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'd be
I've
amazing.
done it twice within an audience,
Right.
and the first time I did it was in Belfast, and I said I've got this lady's husband, and I said he's very grateful to her for what she did for him, and then all of a sudden Mark picked up his voice, and he's saying I couldn't walk, and she was in tears. She said that's my husband's voice. It wasn't my voice. It was on the computer. It was actually his voice that Mark had picked up. So we work together. I pick up the vibration, and then Mark gets the sound going. You must meet him if at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, this is
Yeah.
this is again what we're talking about. It's the happy medium between the spiritual side and the technological side of
Absolutely. Yeah.
you know what I mean? There has to be that balance. Do you know what I mean? And it makes everything else so much more credible.
Absolutely. And people say to me, oh, it's all, once you've sensed and felt real paranormal, then there's nothing like it. It's a sensation, a feeling, an awareness that you never forget, ever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well,
it's good because you have. Sorry. The good thing with you, Marian, and I love to see it as you as a psychic medium. You're happy to work with the scientific side, so you have that beautiful blend, like we do as a team. You have the spiritual side, which is yourself, and you have the scientific side, which is the gentleman you just mentioned, and you bring that together.
Yeah.
I think that's what's
Well,
been on
I think
television
that's my
today,
job.
you know.
That's my
Yeah, yeah.
Years and years ago, I did a program called The Ghost Detectives, and all the spirit that we did then was very, very basic, very, you know, undynamic. But they kept saying to me, "You're not getting the picture. You're not getting all the picture." And so I think there's a lot more that, you know, to do with technology that can help. Certainly me as a medium and other mediums as well.
You see, I think that has been sadly lost today in certainly in televised in paranormal investigations. Do you know what I mean? I think that balance has been lost, and this is just my opinion, you know. But personally speaking, I would absolutely love to see more of that balance, you know, spirituality and technology working hand in hand, you know.
Absolutely. It's the way forward. It's got to be the way forward. You know, we can't make puffs of smoke anymore.
No. So tell us about Northern Ireland's greatest haunts. What was that like to work on?
Well, I was the medium on the program. They used to fly me in. I never knew where I was going, but I met hundreds and hundreds of people while I was there. And I must admit, I must tell you, Gary, the first place I went to was for the interview for the Northern Ireland's Greatest Haunts. And they sent me to the Jury Inn in Dublin.
Oh yes.
I thought they were setting me up, because I got in the lift. Nobody met me. I went in a taxi to the Jury Inn, and I got in the lift, and there was this young man in the lift with me in spirit. And I thought, hey, this is what they're doing. They're trying to trick me, you know. So when they came to interview me at the Jury Inn the next day, I said to them, "It's okay. I've already seen the gentleman in the lift." You know, and they were absolutely flabbergasted. They didn't even know that the Jury Inn was haunted, and it most certainly is. There's a couple of rooms there that definitely want investigating. So that was the first thing. And then they took to a pub. It's supposed to be the oldest pub in Dublin, by the river, and you know, as you know, I can talk in, well, they say talk in tongues. I don't believe that, but I can allow spirit to talk through me. And the gentleman that came forward showed me where the brick in the wall was loose, and he used to take out the brick and hide the key when the landlady went to bed in the evening. So that was the most exciting thing, was going for the interview and actually being accepted. Because I thought, you've got hundreds of mediums in Ireland that could do the job. I felt very privileged that they'd picked me, you know, and very grateful to Andy Matthews, who was a friend of mine on a first series I did, The Ghost Detective. So he had put my name forward. But I think the most influential one was the one I did at the prison. Armagh, was it?
Armagh Jail.
At the prison?
Armagh Jail, yeah.
Where they asked me to do trance work. Yeah, and they asked me to do trance work, and I really hate doing it. I am a trance medium. I said to them, I don't really want to do this. I said, I think it looks so very fake. Whenever you're looking at this, it looks so fake. But anyway, they wanted me to do it, so I tried it. I couldn't believe the amount of people when the program went out. I had hundreds and hundreds of calls from Italy, France, Germany, all over the world, saying they never believed what I did until they saw that episode. If that was, you know, what it took for people to think about what I do, then fine. That's all okay with me, you know.
You touched on it.
But I'd love to join you, Gary.
Was
That'd be
you
great
have to
fun. I would
join
love
me.
you to have you over. Yeah, we'll get
Yeah,
that organized. So well,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. As I said,
Um,
it's my life, and I'm getting to be a really old lady now. So
away of that with you. Was Cesar Art Diaz Machias? I
I'm
think
sorry.
that there's a gentleman here, Art Diaz Machias. I think that I have pronounced that correctly. And he's sending you hugs all the way from Mexico.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
With a gentleman,
can you hear me?
can you hear it? Yeah. With a gentleman,
Can you-
Art Diaz Machias from Mexico. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. And he's sending you hugs.
Yes, I can. I just heard the.
Yeah. He's sending you hugs all the way
Yeah.
from Mexico.
Oh,
He's giving you
bless
hugs
him.
all the way
Hello,
from Mexico. Yeah.
Hello
And there's
to
another
all my
question.
friends in America. Yeah, hello to all my friends in America. I've got loads of friends over there. So, you know,
Yeah.
but as I said, I'm not part of a great network of a team everywhere. It's me.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I'm what you get.
No, and sometimes that's the best way to be as well. You're just yourself. You're what I've known and what I hear so many people speak in high regard for you is that you're an amazing lady. You're very talented at what you do, and this is why I'm down to get to meet you as well. So you're held in great regard in with the people in Northern Ireland. You've
Thank you
touched a
very
lot
much.
of people's hearts. You've touched a lot of people's hearts over here as well. So you have. Marion,
Yeah.
so when was
Thank
it
you.
that
Thank you.
was it?
But that's my quest in life.
Oh well, that's that's coming from George. You've heard people speaking highly of Marion as well.
Oh, absolutely.
What?
Absolutely. When anyone here speaks of mediums, then most of the
You're
time
one of the first ones.
the first one that pops up is
First
Marion.
one that comes up every time.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Jenny Sullivan,
Jenny,
she says, Marion, you look great, and she loves your work.
God
And
bless. Thank you. Thank you very much.
We also have a question here from Veronica Shields McMahon. Says she wants to know, can I ask Marion, where was the most active location?
Oh, it's one of my. I've just seen Veronica's name come up. She's one of my very dear friends. Her and Brian are from Belfast, and they took me under their wing. They looked after me, fed me, watered me, and drove me for miles. Bless them. So hello, Brian and Veronica. Brilliant.
She wants to know where the most active location you ever did was.
Active. Dobbins Inn, definitely.
Carrickfergus.
Dobbins. Yeah, Carrickfergus, yes. That's where I discovered the tunnel, and then they found it. So
that's right.
it wasn't so much. It wasn't so much. It was just that it was such a visual thing. People could actually hear and see what's going on. Whether it's still the same now, I don't know, because of all the traffic and that's gone through it. I've always thought that the more traffic goes through a place, it dilutes the energy. So if you can keep a place, not virginal, but do you understand? If you can keep it special, and then go there, then that's good, because you're not picking up different vibrations. Veronica and Brian took me to a place, a hotel on the corner of somewhere. I can't remember quite where it was, and that too was one of the most haunted places I think I've ever been to. It really was. I think it was called the Chimney Corner or something like that.
Oh, yes. Normally.
Yes. Yeah. And it was so much information came through there, and I was picking up people all over the place. Amazing.
Yeah.
But it was only me, so
So are you still doing?
I like to work. I like to go.
Sorry,
yeah, I'm still working.
You're obviously still working away as a medium, but in what format? I mean, do you have a Facebook page, or do you have a website that people can go and visit you, or whatever?
Well, I've got Positively Paranormal, which is a Facebook page, basically. I teach an awful lot. I do a lot of teaching abroad in Turkey and in Cyprus. I do a beginner's course, if you like, of psychic development, because I believe I'm not unique. I believe everybody has the capability, but
I believe it.
I haven't the backing that these big people have got. So you know, if I can just get my airfare and accommodation out of it, then that's fine. I have some wonderful girls in Turkey and in Cyprus, in Paphos, that you know are coming through the ranks and are making wonderful. They will make wonderful mediums, you know. But as I said, everybody has the ability. We're all born with it.
Yeah.
I have just heard you mention a place that's very, very special to me, which is Turkey, right? So here's a question for you. Have you ever visited or did any sort of medium work or whatever in Cappadocia?
No. As I said, I'm a sort of invited only person, and if they invite me, if I'm invited, I'll go.
Marion, that is a place that you must visit when the show's finished tonight.
Yes, well, I'd love to. You know,
Google Cappadocia. The history of that goes back to BC, right? And the dwellings are still there.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it would just to visit the place for, you know, such a spiritual place. In Cappadocia, you know, it would just absolutely blow your mind. So for yourself, if I was to ask you now that there's one place on your bucket list that you would love to go and visit, where would it be?
Easter Island. I'd love to go to Easter Island.
Right.
I would love a spiritual tour around Easter Island. I really do feel that's when, and I don't know what your belief structure is, but that's, I believe, where, you know, there's got to be something really, really special there, and something that somebody like me can tune into.
Yeah.
Whether it's that you believe in UFOs or extraterrestrials or whatever, I'm a sort of person, my mind's open to everything. So, and I do believe that we've been visited by people from another plane, another planet. And I think Easter Island holds an awful lot of answers to a lot of questions.
Yeah.
So that's on my bucket list. That's where I'd like to go.
You see, that's the very nature. That's the very nature of this show, because you know we had been debating what to call the show at the beginning, and you know, would it be Chronicles of the Paranormal, would it be Chronicles of the Supernatural? You know, and we decided on the Chronicles of the Supernatural for that exact reason. You know, because there are so many realms of it. You know, I mean, mythology, ufology, there's myth and legend, etc., etc., etc. You know, spirituality. You know. I've even been told, oh, well, perhaps I'm not speaking to spirit, perhaps I'm talking to a spaceman somewhere. So you've got to be open. You've got to be open. Yeah, absolutely.
You have to be.
Yeah.
So there's a question coming in here from Warren McMinn, and I think Warren was in a team called NIPRA at that time.
Oh, Warren!
And what he said is
absolutely marvelous man.
Yeah. So Warren McMinn was in his team. He's just left a message where he said, "I met Marion in Dublin years ago. She is such a lovely lady."
He must have met you through NIPRA.
I didn't quite hear that. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. So Warren said he's met you. He met you in Dobbins years ago, and you're such a lovely lady. That's from Warren McMinn. So.
Oh, thank you, Warren. Hello.
Another. Roisin Blur Hamilton says, "Marion, you are the best in my eyes."
Thank you, Roisin. You're not so bad yourself.
So tell me this, Marion.
They're all coming in
for Marion Goodfellow.
Yes, I did. I'm not hearing you. Sorry.
Okay, what is next for Marion Goodfellow?
Well, hopefully the pilot that I've worked with Mark will be picked up. You know what, we do this work and we never know whether it's going to be picked up or not. It looks very interesting. There are several people that are interested in what we're doing. I want to carry on teaching. I would like to get more venues where I can teach other people to become mediumistic. And I just love to go on investigations. And if I'm asked, I will go. You know, as I said, you've got to remember I'm an old lady now. That bike might come in handy, Gary. You might be able to get me on the back of it.
Marion,
I could also get a wee side. I could put you in the sidecar, get you a wee sidecar, and put you in it with a wee glass of champagne.
Yeah, lovely.
Marion,
Oh, love champagne! You're spoiling me.
Champagne, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
when you get to Gary's age and buy a Harley Davidson, then I will say you're old.
Oh, Gary,
Yeah,
it's only
30.
a baby.
I know. I'm only 40. I'm only 37 years of age. Plus
I've had a
VAT.
V8 Sports Jaguar that used to go really fast.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds more like it. Anyhow, Marion, we're running very, very short on time here. It was absolutely.
I've really enjoyed it, guys. Really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for asking me. Thank you so much.
And it was lovely having you on.
It was a pleasure having you on the show, and we'll have you on again if that's okay with you.
Oh, I'd love to. Yes, whenever and forever.
Maybe then you'll be able to give us a wee bit more information on this new show.
The new show coming out.
I promise you that you'll be the first ones that know after me. All right.
Yay!
Marion, it was a pleasure, and we'll speak to you again.
Yeah, take care, everybody.
Okay.
Bye-bye for now.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Love you. Love you.
Love you too. Bye, darling. Bye.
Love you. Hey,
Look after that
bye.
bike. Look after the bike.
Oh,
yeah.
No.
Bye.
I'm going to ban equalizer.
You'll have to switch me off, Gary. I don't know how to do it.
All right, okay. Bye-bye. What a lady. What a lady.
Gem, an absolute gem. I tell you what, Gary, some very, very interesting topics there tonight.
Yeah, it's been a great show, Jared. But listen, Jared, before we close the show down, before we talk about next week's guests, a wee birdie approached me during the week and they said that you're doing another line behind this show. You're doing something else, and that you were actually spotted in Bangor. So you were. Okay, now you never told me this. You've kept this very, very quiet. So you have. So let's see if I can bring this up. So this was taken today outside the bank. This photograph.
Oh, right. No, yes, I do. Sometimes I do a bit of a sideline as a security man, right? And I can't mention any brand names, right? But I had got a phone call of a specific drive-through takeaway, and they were having.
It's going to be interesting.
They were having major problems because they had no ice cream available, and I was called up to kind of police the queue and what kind of,
Are you sure? Okay, so it wasn't because you heard a report that my bike was coming to Bangor, and the off chance that I would have jumped on it and took for a wee spin down Bangor, and you were standing there with your armor.
Well, there was that as well, right? There was that as well.
Yeah.
I mean, if I had seen you driving past on that bike, right? But
the secret is out. The secret is out.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, so for next week's show, we have another exciting lineup. Fantastic guests tonight. We have Amanda Quayle from Cold Spotters, and she's from Canada. We also have a guy called Dale Marston, and he's from the new Ghost Hunters TV show in America. It's been a reboot of the show that was done 12, 13 years ago, and I believe that show has gotten a lot of great reviews as well. Then we have a double act. We have his lovely wife, Sarah, and also Phil Wyman. And Phil would be remembered in, I think it was one of the first shows he ever done, was called The Scream Team. And then he went from that to, I think it was Most Haunted, and I think he was there for maybe 2 or 3 seasons. And then to finish it off, we have another international medium, renowned all over the world. Her name is Jenny Cousins, and she is from Canada. So there you go. Good show.
Next week. So make sure, ladies and gentlemen, folks, tune in next week. It was a pleasure having you all watching tonight, and your comments coming in thick and fast. A bit of a competition going on here between the photographs. So tune in next Friday night. Tune in next Friday night, 8 p.m. Right? Jam-packed show next week. Again, get liking, get sharing, let all your friends know about the page. This, we were discussing this actually this afternoon. This is a platform here for everyone out there who's involved in the paranormal, the supernatural in any way, shape, or form. We tend to deal with all topics on here. And on that note, I will bid you good night.
Love yous.
Good night.
Love yous.
Okay.
Love you. Bye.